And joining me now is the former Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner William Beach. Mr. Beach served under President Trump in his first term and under President Biden. Thank you for being with us. When you saw how this unfolded with the president firing one of your successors, did you ever think this kind of a step could be taken?
I didn't think it would come to a firing. We've had this sort of understanding between the parties that the BLS commissioner appointed by one party would be continued by the other party in order to retain the confidence that people have in the numbers, to basically say this is not a political position, even though it's presidentially appointed and Senate confirmed. It's very different from being the head of the Labor Department or the Treasury Secretary. So that was striking to me. It was also striking that the context of the envelope of the dismissal was that the commissioner was leading a conspiracy of people inside the Bureau whose intent was to create numbers that would be prejudicial first to the campaign of President Trump, which I think was conducted in a way that would not have been vulnerable to any numbers. It was well done. And then is as prejudicial to his current public policies. Brian is becoming my favorite reporter because he just so accurately said it's not possible for the commissioner to have that influence. I was never in the room where the data was collected. I was never in the room where there was the data was summed up and then estimated into these well-known numbers that we get on First Friday. In fact, the commissioner doesn't see the numbers until they're completely finished. And absent that, the current situation does not permit the commissioner to lead a conspiracy to rig the data.
You really outlined the safeguards that you have seen having held that position. Let me turn to some of the comments of Kevin Hassett, who is, of course, the director of the National Economic Council. He is one of the president's longtime advisors. He described these revisions in this latest report as historically important outliers. Again, the report included not only the July numbers, but going back and revising some of the spring data, which turned a bit more sour on the economy. These are revisions that normally happen. Is there something in the fact that this was such a big revision that in and of itself makes it unreliable?
Kevin's a very good friend of mine, and we've known each other for a long time, worked together, and I have great respect for his economics and his judgment. But in this particular case, I think that the most logical thing to guess is that the economy is signaling a turn. So when the economy grows rapidly out of a recession or begins to become sluggish, maybe not headed towards a recession, but just sluggish, you see these trends or these turns in the revisions. You see them in the revisions. Why? Because we're getting initial data, then we get more information, then we get more information for 2 months, as Brian said, after the initial release. And with those 2 months on top of the first release, we're now seeing a trend in the data. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here. I'm just saying that you should be open to that. The second thing, yeah, we should definitely take every opportunity to improve the process. And in point of fact, BLS is doing a better job now, as research shows, better job now in estimating that first number and getting it right compared to where they end up 2 months later than they have ever done before. In fact, the improvements have been steady for the past 30 years. So the BLS is not doing a poor job, they're doing a better job. And if we're getting rapid changes or rapid revisions, they may be due to other things. I'll just say one more thing. The big revisions on Friday were probably due to state and local education running out of funding from the COVID years. That's one explanation. It may not be the correct one, but some people have argued that that's kind of what's happening there in the state and local. So let's not blame the commissioner right off and say, oh, it's a conspiracy. Let's say there must be a reason and try to get to that reason. I think that's what good information and good statistical practice point to.
Because I have you here, I'd like to play something that was a part of the Meet the Press interview with Kevin Hassett, what he said so that I can get your reaction to it. Let's play that exchange.
I mean, there are 40 people put these numbers together? Is the president planning to fire all 40 people involved in putting these numbers together?
We're going to try to get the numbers so that they're transparent and reliable.
Is the president prepared to fire anyone who reports data that he disagrees with?
No, absolutely not. The president wants his own people there so that when we see the numbers, they're more transparent and more reliable.
So if the president is able to put in people of his own choosing to be in either the commissioner role or a broader group, will those people be able to adjust the data favorable to the president?
So the selection of the final 40, if you will, the people who are in the lockdown room, is pretty important. But what are they doing? They are individually handling little segments of the economy. And then the associate commissioner, the assistant commissioners, they sum up everything that these individual analysts have done. So even there, it's a bit easier to change the data in one direction or another, but it's still difficult. Why? Because everybody's looking over everybody's back to see whether or not they are kind of doing the right job. So yes, I would be a little bit more concerned if we had wholesale changes. I don't know if you could find the kinds of experts readily to replace these people. They have been doing this work for a long time, and they're very experts. They just don't go out there and grow on trees. So I wonder even there if that's what fixes any problem. What would fix the problem is for Congress and the White House to get together and really analyze what's wrong with the methods of collection and to modernize those. I think there's a good deal to talk about there, yeah.
Your expertise is invaluable. Thank you. You've been in that chair. You know what it's like. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. We appreciate it, and we certainly hope to touch base with you again as new developments in this issue surface. So thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.